Hi, I'm Colin, and this is Sci-Fi Deep Dive. So with Order 66 being in the spotlight thanks to the end of the final season of the Clone Wars, I think it's a good time to discuss the process of the Great Jedi Purge. For those of you who don't know, the Great Jedi Purge was the massive decline in the number of Jedi, which began with Order 66 and continued into the reign of the Empire. Now, obviously, there's components that everybody knows. Order 66 obviously is kind of front and center in all of this, but there are elements to this that are a little less obvious and really take place after the end of the war. So I wanted to spend some time talking about those today. But first things first, we do have to talk about the big one, the one that everybody knows, and that's Order 66. Order 66 is a contingency plan put in place by the Galactic Republic and installed right into the heads of the clone army. Order 66 is actually one of many contingency orders that the Grand Army of the Republic are to follow without question. Some of these include removing the Chancellor from power should he be deemed unfit or inappropriate for his position. But the one in question today is Order 66. Now, specifically, what we know is that Order 66 is a contingency plan in place for a rebellion by the Jedi against the Republic. Looking at it in the most technical terms, that is exactly what happened in the Chancellor's office on Coruscant. The Jedi went to the Chancellor's office with the intention of removing him from power. Mind you that even though the Chancellor is a Sith Lord, he is democratically elected to that position. So on paper, it could be seen as a Jedi rebellion against the Republic. However, Mace Windu's band of Jedi failed to arrest the Chancellor. The Chancellor is then able to declare the Jedi to be a rebellion and initiates Order 66. He sends out a transmission to clones all across the galaxy fighting in all theaters of the Clone War that initiates Order 66 and basically signifies to them that the Jedi are in a state of open rebellion. In following this contingency order, the clones turn on their Jedi generals. As we see in Revenge of the Sith, all across the galaxy, all across the war, clone troopers gun down their Jedi commanders. Meanwhile, on Coruscant, Darth Vader leads a contingent of the 501st to raid and sack the Jedi Temple. Within only a matter of what must have been hours, the Jedi were almost completely eradicated, with Jedi fighting in the war massacred by their own soldiers, and the Jedi training and living in the Jedi Temple killed in the raid. But Order 66 failed to kill all of the Jedi. As Palpatine predicted, if any are left alive, it will be civil war without end. And several Jedi did survive Order 66. Now, of course, there's the ones that we know are alive during the original trilogy, like Obi-Wan and Yoda. But there are many Jedi who would survive Order 66 but not make it to the Galactic Civil War. That's because the Jedi Purge didn't end after Order 66. It kept going well into the reign of the Empire. So, as the clone troopers became stormtroopers, the Empire began building forces with the intention of hunting down survivors. These forces were almost exclusively led by Darth Vader. The most prominent members of this group were the Inquisitors. The Inquisitors were agents of the Empire that were specially trained in the use of the Force. This would make them an even match for Jedi Knights who had survived the massacres at the end of the war. They would be led by Darth Vader as they scoured the galaxy, hunting anywhere that might house any surviving Jedi. This is why many Jedi chose to pretend to be dead. Many would attempt to hide their own survival to fool the Empire and throw it off their trail. We see this in several prominent pieces of fiction that depict Order 66. These Inquisitors would become a feared force well into the reign of the Empire and would still exist even just a few years before the Galactic Civil War really kind of kicked off. And still, the Inquisitors would fail to carry out the Jedi Purge in its entirety, as some Jedi obviously survived. Notably, the Jedi Masters Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda, who would go on to train Luke Skywalker, who, as we know, would be the nail in the coffin for the Galactic Empire. But we have to remember that all of this starts with Order 66, and if you want to know more about the mechanisms in place to kind of force the clones to carry out that order, I actually did a video a couple months ago on the inhibitor chips that clones had that force them to obey these contingency orders. If you want to see that video, I'll leave a link up in one of the corners somewhere. But if you enjoyed what you saw here today, or you just want more sci-fi discussions, head down below at the subscribe button and the bell icon so you get notified when I upload new videos. Also, don't forget to like and leave a comment. Tell me what you think of the Empire's attempt to continue to exterminate the Jedi after Order 66. Do you think the Inquisitors were a strong enough force to pose a threat to all the remaining Jedi, or do you think they were simply too few in number? So for Sci-Fi Deep Dive, I'm Colin, and I will see you next time.